Seriously, as a designer of learning content, facing off with the client over feedback has all the elements of a John Woo film. The henchmen come first. Finding weak spots in your work that makes you question your technique. You dodge most of their hits until expert opinion catches you off guard, knocking the clarity of your content off balance. And before you can rethink your strategy, the silence breaks as the boss's unpredictable barrage of critique deals the final crushing blow to your project's relevance and schedule. And with each hit to your work, you can feel your ego and creativity crumble. But while most accept that getting feedback from the client to ensure we're meeting their needs requires us to take the emotional hits that come along with it, there's actually a way for us to both get the feedback we need and emerge unscathed. And all it takes is a combination of 3 techniques, starting with the rethink of our defenses. Like you, I regularly run into clients that pick apart my work, wanting to make changes that go against best practice and the outcome thereafter. It's part of the job. And being the expert, you've no doubt tried fighting back with counter arguments during that conversation and found it only makes things worse. So we learn early on in our career to surrender our need to control the client, lower our guard, and peacefully accept whatever they might say, using our confidence as a kind of shield to stop their words from hurting us. Now, the problem with this technique alone is while it keeps us open-minded so we can take on board what is being said, we're rarely confident enough that we feel bulletproof towards negative feedback on our own work. We need something more mentally sustainable. So we then try supplementing this technique by giving some direction on the kind of feedback we're after. And sure, when the client has a hard target to focus on, it stops them spending time tearing apart other parts of the product like the visuals that aren't finished yet, so we can get that productive feedback on the stuff we care about right now, like the content. But that's until this targeted feedback begins to hinder their ability to make final decisions. So we have to start chasing them for answers. And it's at this point that we often get stuck in the feedback journey and have to bounce around a bunch of alternative ideas for them to choose from just so we can get the job done in time. Frankly, it's enough to make us want to switch sides so we can make the decisions for them. And while that's rarely possible, there is another powerful technique that works alongside being the Bulletproof Monk and setting a hard target that gets the client to not only decide what they need quickly, but in a way where they can avoid hurting our ego and maintain our inner peace. Normally, when facing off against a client, we go in fighting for what we've made. But what happens if we instead face off with the client? Go in treating the product like a work in progress and pick apart what we've made together. 3 things happen. The client starts to get filled in on where we're coming from and what we're trying to achieve for their learners through the product's design. They see we're open to changes and they begin to work with us to find that missing clue we're after so we can all get to the next step of the project. And because we've now stepped into the client's world and are fighting for what they care about, we're no longer the enemy and no longer in the firing line, only the product is. So their words are no longer able to hurt us. Now, facing off with the client like this takes practice, which is why you'll need to watch this video next to make sure you're checking your work properly across the design process. I'll see you there.